Once upon a time, in a room full of wonders, where every step leads to magic, and the journey of a true story begins here, with amazing guests and true miracles. Please like and subscribe for more amazing videos.
Oh, thank you, Daniela, for inviting me. I'm so excited to be with you today. So a little prior before my NDE, I just want to share a little bit, kind of to help understand the whole picture of it. So prior to it, I was overworked. I was running two businesses, just exhausted. I was a people pleaser. I was an overachiever. I was a very sensitive person that was always trying to prove my worth. And so I was living up to everyone else's expectations and not my own. And so in this process, I found that I was really burnt out running these two businesses. At the same time, I was married to a man. For 7 years, I wanted to get out of the marriage, but I did not have the courage to get out of the marriage. I had been married to him for 12 years. But I just wanted, like, the last 7 years of our marriage, I was just like exhausted. So I was basically a shell of a person. I didn't have any purpose. I was living up to prove my worth, and I didn't know who I was or anything. So this one day, it was back in 2015. I was going to the doctor's to have a mild procedure done. While I was at the doctor's office, she had to inject me with a medication. And I had a reaction to this medication. What had happened the moment she injected me, all of a sudden I started to feel woozy. I started to feel like I was going to faint. I was seeing black with like red specks. I just was like, just super uncomfortable in my body. All I remember was trying to tell her I need help, but nothing would come out of my mouth. I also remember thinking I need to put my head between my legs so I don't faint. I need to get the blood back to my head, and I couldn't even move my body. And within a moment, I was all of a sudden in this like white space that turned black, and I was in this euphoric state. All that pain and discomfort and uneasiness that I was physically feeling in my body just moments prior had vanished. I felt incredible. It's so euphoric. It's complete nirvana. And I'm in this space and I'm just like not even attached to my body. A lot of people who have had near-death experiences, they can look back and see what's going on with their body. I was not even attached to it. I was just so grateful I was no longer feeling that pain and that uneasy feeling. So I'm floating in this black space. There's a white light at the end of this dark tunnel with a silhouette of a being standing there. And I'm floating to it. And I don't even realize in this moment that I'm transitioning. I just know that I'm happy I'm no longer in that body. And as I'm floating up, I realize, oh, I am transitioning. In that, and then I have this thought. My mom, my dad, and my beloved dog Buster are going to be devastated when they find out. And I'm an empath. I have been told for decades that I'm an empath. I never really fully understood what an empath was until this moment. An empath is somebody who is a very sensitive person, highly sensitive. Like being in crowds is hard. Being around people, too many people, or loud sounds, or lots of lights can be really intense for empaths. Empaths also feel other people's feelings. They just like we're sponges. We bring them in. So in that moment, I'm thinking about my mom, my dad, and my dog, and I'm concerned about them. But in this human body that I am in, myself would be like, oh, I could feel their pain. I don't want to feel it. In my spiritual body, I knew they would be upset, but I couldn't feel their pain. And it was the first time I realized how empowering that was to not have to feel their pain. I was like detached. I don't know if I could put words to it very well, but I was detached from their emotion. I was concerned for their emotion, but I was detached. Whereas in my human body, I'm part of their emotion. Does that make sense? So it was such an empowering realization. And at the same time, I was like, okay, I'm ready to transition. I'm okay. But then I also thought I was shown 3 timelines because I was concerned about them. And so I was shown 3 timelines representing for each of them, and it showed me the amount of time they would be in their crippling grief. And so my big concern was they wouldn't live out the rest of their life just in crippling grief. I wanted to make sure that they would grieve, but be able to move on and still have a smile on their face and enjoy life. And they were able to. I saw in each of their timelines, it would take like 1.5 to 2 years, but each of them were going to be able to move forward. And so I was like, okay, let's go. I'm ready to transition. So I'm just floating effortlessly up towards this being. And in the spiritual realm, it's expansive. There's nothing confining. Time doesn't exist. Like, I was probably in this realm for probably 3 minutes, but it felt like eternity. It felt like I'd been there forever. There's no physical body. You're just energy. There's nothing to confine you. It's limitless. And I think it's fascinating because if you think about, if you, in this realm that we are currently in the earthly realm, if you're in a dark alley with a light at the end of it and there's a silhouette standing in the front of the alley, there's no way you're going to walk towards that person. Scary, right? In this, I was like pure love. And there was no fear. There was nothing to hold me back. I just wanted to go be with this being. And so I kept just effortlessly floating up. And as I'm floating, all of a sudden I see this energy force come at me. And this energy force is coming at me at a rapid speed. And it comes, and as it's coming, it all of a sudden pushes me back. So I'm falling backwards now. No longer am I going forward. I'm falling back. And as I'm falling back, I'm pushed back into my physical body. What had happened was I had a grand mal seizure. I stopped breathing. My doctor had to perform CPR to resuscitate me and bring me back. So she brought me back. And when I woke up, I had an amnesia. Daniela, I didn't even know who I was. I didn't know anything. It didn't make sense to me. The walls of the stark white exam room, I didn't understand that confined space, because I had been up in the spiritual realm. Everything had been expansive. Nothing was confining. So I'm now in this tiny room. I'm back in my physical body. I don't know who I am. It hurts to be in your body. You're just like, it just is very painful. And I have this doctor yelling my name. She's yelling Emily, and I'm like, who's Emily? Who are you? Are you here to help or harm me? I don't know. I don't know anything. It took me a few minutes to get oriented and go, okay, I think I'm Emily. I think. And I think she's here to help me. What a doctor was, I didn't even understand what a doctor was. When I came back, I never felt the same. I was never the same person. Within 6 months, I left my husband. It took me 7 years of wanting to leave him, and I couldn't leave him. I never had the courage, but yet after my NDE, I was different. And within 6 months, I was out of that marriage. Yeah. And I remember thinking, why didn't I get out of this earlier? I just didn't have that confidence and the courage. As an empaths tend to be people pleaser, empaths that are out of balance. I'm not going to say all empaths, because some empaths that understand their gifts and know how to embody them, this is not the case, but empaths that don't. I was one of those that didn't. I was very out of balance, trying to always prove my worth and living up to everybody else's expectations. So I was married to a man that I was living up to his expectations to make him happy, not me. I didn't want to feel his disappointment if I told him I was leaving. And that's the problem. We feel people's pain, so we don't want to cause them pain because we know what they go through. But yet it's disempowering to not only ourselves, but to them if we're not allowing them to go through whatever they need to go through. So it was a lesson that I had learned in my NDE of the importance of allowing people to go through what they need to go through, and not needing to protect them, and not needing to suffocate myself by protecting other people. within a year and a half after my NDE, I had closed both my businesses. My businesses were something that were successful and I was grateful to have, yet they did not fulfill who I was. I was supposed to be going down a spiritual path. Me, as a imbalanced empath that could not see her way through life and was living for everybody else, created a huge mess. All I could say was, on the inside of me was like black. I didn't know who I was. There was no life in me. I was just a shell of a person. And I often am seeing like a big tangle of yarn that I created, and I didn't know how to unravel the yarn and get it cleared. So in this NDE I had this spiritual awakening. I came back a completely different person with this profound truth of who I was, and had the ability to clean up this mess that I had created for myself. Everything, it's pure love up there. It's a love that we don't get to experience here unless you have the ability to connect with the spiritual realm. It's pure love, and there's this all-knowing. You know everything, and there's no question or uncertainty or confusion. You just know you're whole. You are whole. That's the best way to put it. Down here, we are on the quest to figure out what wholeness is. We're on the quest to learn about ourselves and ascend as souls. Whereas up there, you already are. You're complete. In my 20s, I was going to massage school, became an aromatherapist, and I had many spiritual encounters in that age range when I was in my 20s. I would do psychic readings for people, not charged, just because I would get information and share. I could have those insights. They just came to me easily. But I shut it down because I had been, again, as I go back to being an empath is somebody that I'm going to say me, I did not know my worth. I didn't know my value. So I was constantly trying to prove my worth to everyone else, and I was doing things that were not aligned with who I was. And in that process, I was lowering my vibration. And by lowering my vibration, I was what I mean by that, like emotionally, I was going into depression. I was going into shame. I was just going down instead of being happy and joyful. So when your vibration is low, you attract lower level spirits. So yeah, the universe mirrors wherever we are at. And so if you're depressed, guess what? You're going to get prankster spirits coming in and causing harm. Or maybe not harm, but maybe disturbing you. Maybe doing things. So that was my experience, and I was having things like them turning on and off the lights or TV in the middle of the night and doing just mean things that were just unnecessary and unsettling. So I closed down my spirituality. In my 30s, I was like, I can't do this anymore. And so I had walked away from my spirituality. And then in my near-death experience, it awoken again, and it was like, all right, it's time to really understand how to work with this gift and to do it in a very sacred and safe space, because I have no desire to deal with the lower level entities. I've done it a lot of my life, and it's not, for me, not where I want to be. So after my near-death experience, again, my gifts came in very strong. I got to know who my spirit team was, my guides. They were there. They were guiding me. And I was depressed coming back out. I'm not going to lie. Coming out of having that awakening of an experience and then coming back to this body and this 3D reality, this density is limiting. It's confining. It's heavy. And so I had experienced limitless. I experienced like pure love. And now I'm in this place that you can experience those emotions easily. And so here I am, depressed. I don't want to be back in my body. But I have the spiritual gifts. So I hired somebody to work with to help me understand like how to work with these gifts in a sacred space and help me understand, what is my purpose here? Why am I here? Because I really didn't want to be back. It's the most beautiful love. Yes, it is. I just want to touch on that love. My experiences were whole and in the spirit realm. And being whole, there's just pure love that radiates out of us. Now, in the physical realm, or this 3D realm, we aren't whole. We are here to learn lessons. And so we have our own traumas that we work through. We maybe work through, maybe not, but we have our traumas that create filters. They create us these filters that then create judgment towards people. So even though it's like a parent, we'll judge them for not being there. Like you said, she wasn't a parent that had a passion for kids, but for older people. And being a child to a parent that is not necessarily there for you as a child creates a filter. She has her filter towards you, you have yours towards her. It's the lesson. You two had a spiritual contract, actually you three, because you have a twin sister, had a spiritual contract to have that experience and to learn from each other. You guys are each other's teachers. Right? We're all each other's teachers. Those people that trigger us the most, that cause the most pain, they're our teachers. And we should be absolutely grateful for them because they are helping us evolve as souls. But I know I'm going off a little, but my point being, in that spiritual realm, it's pure love. Because of my experience, we are whole, and you don't have those filters. You don't have those little cracks in our self, in our ego to project judgment on anyone. You just feel this blissful love that no words can describe it. I was angry that I came back, and it took me years to understand. So I had worked with my guides. I have a very strong connection with my spirit team, and I work with them daily, and I was working with them. I actually went to a point of wanting to take my life because I was so depressed. But they took me into a deep, deep, deep trance-like state, a meditation. And in this meditation, because I was at my breaking point, I was just like, what is this all for? Seriously, why am I here? So they took me into this trance state, and they took me, and it was like I was hovering over Earth. And it was dark. It was like flying in a plane at nighttime. And as we're just hovering and flying in the sky, all of a sudden I saw some lights turn on below me. And I was like, it's like, when you're starting to fly you're in a rural area and it's just dark and you see like a speckle of a light here and there. And then all of a sudden you go into like an urban area and it's just like millions of lights. That's what they were showing me. And they said, this is the reason you came back, so that you can help shine your light into other people that their lights are dim or out, and help bring their light, turn their lights on inside of them, essentially, to give them purpose. I'm not to give them purpose. They're supposed to, I would just want to clarify, discover what their purpose is, because each of us has a purpose here. Every single one of us has a purpose, and our purpose, whether big or small, does not matter. There's a purpose for us to live out. So my guides were showing me that I'm here not for me, it's to help other people. We want to evolve. We can't evolve unless we come here. This is school for us. We are in a PhD program living here. And every single one of us, our souls wanted to come here. Even though like you were like, I want to exit. I was like, I want to exit. This is hard. It is hard, but it's also glorious. And I want to share something. So our guides can't intervene and help us unless we ask them to. You were at a moment that you needed help. You asked them and they showed up. They probably brought in an angel to share that information with you. For me, I was in a position that, I was already working with them, but I was like, guys, seriously, I can't do this anymore. And they showed up. I will say we have birth angels. All of us have birth angels. We have 1 to 2 each of us. Our birth angels are with us from our inception, our soul's inception, not the inception of this lifetime. And the birth angels will intervene if we are putting ourselves in a situation that could create an early exit point, and we're not supposed to exit. So for instance, I, in my early 20s, lost control of my car, and I was spinning around, and I had traffic head-on coming towards me. I was about to go into a head-on collision, or I was going to roll off a cliff. No control of my car on a mountain road. And out of nowhere, my car, I remember going, I'm going to die here, or I'm going to be severely paralyzed. And then I had this thought come in my head and said, nope, that's not going to happen. And it happened so fast, you can't even think. But literally, it was like somebody picked up my car, turned it around, put it in the slow lane, going in the right direction with the engine off. I had just enough time to turn on the engine and drive and get out of there before somebody ran into me. That was an earth angel, or birth angel that came in and intervened, because it was not an exit point for me. But when we're just creating havoc in our lives because we don't have the clarity and the knowledge, or we're depressed, we need to call on our guides. And we all have guides. Every single one of us has guides. And if you don't need to know their names, you just say, hey, help me. They're going to step forward, and they're going to give you the help that you need. When I was married to a man that was very ill. So he was physically ill. For 10 years of our marriage, he was in and out of the hospital. And so I was his caretaker. And I had to, I was constantly in the hospital or taking care of him at home. And when he was healthy, unfortunately, he was an alcoholic, and so he would drink. And that's why I had to leave that marriage, because I was doing all the heavy lifting. And this is another, symptom of an empath. We tend to be codependent. And so as an empath, you want to take care of people. And somebody here, this this man that I loved him. I really did love him. But he was like pulling life force out of me to keep him alive, essentially. There was no equal exchange. It was very imbalanced. But anyway, I just want to share this one time he was in the hospital, and I was so depleted, and I was so tired. And I just remember that one morning, I'm sitting on my sofa, and I'm like, if you really exist, Source, God, Jesus, whoever you are, if you really, really exist, then I need you right now, because I have nothing left inside of me. And I need to see it today. And I went to the hospital later that day to check on my husband. And my husband at the time was told some really awful news. And we were just so depleted. And I had forgotten that I had requested to have some sort of confirmation earlier in the day. So then I said, let's go for a walk. And so we went for a walk, and we somehow were sitting outside the hospital on the steps. And we had this gentleman out of nowhere, just like you. Yeah, you just triggered this story for me. Show up. And he said, I don't know if you believe in Jesus or not. And then he reached down and he touched my husband on his colon, where my husband had a colon issue, and said, everything's going to be okay. And then he walked away. Yes, it was just that I had been pleading for that confirmation, and it came through. And they can be super subtle too. It could be like all of a sudden you may just be at your lowest of low, but then all of a sudden you see like repeat numbers showing up all the time. Or you see out of nowhere butterflies or certain birds or something. That could be the spirit world connecting with you. Well, and that's their journey, So for me, it's the fuel that keeps me going. If without it, I'm a shell of a person. But I don't know, some people, that's their journey, and whether they choose to awaken or not, maybe they're not awakening because they're helping us. I don't know why their soul chose that. So I let them do what they need to do and trust that if they're supposed to be awoken, they will. And not all of us can awaken at the same time. I've been connecting with my spirit team a lot, and a lot of us right now, like you and your sister with this podcast, the listeners of your podcast, we are awakening to help. There's going to be a huge influx of people awakening over the next 10 years. Probably actually next 30 years, my guides are saying. Right now, they're saying there's about around 2% of people in the world that are awakening, and it's going to go up to, I'm seeing the number 10%. So there's a huge number of people that are going to start to awaken. And as people awaken, it's our job to really help educate people on how to awaken and work with these gifts in a safe way instead of forcing it. Because if you force it, it's like they're showing me, if you force like the Kundalini awakening without really being grounded, it's like they're showing me it's like a tree that doesn't have a strong root system, and the tree will fall. Our bodies cannot maintain, our nervous systems cannot maintain, our brains cannot maintain that level of high frequency here in this 3D realm. It's not possible unless you're somebody that can be meditating all day long and not having to function and work and, make money. We're here for the human experience. So we have to learn how to enjoy the human experience. We can bring the spirituality in and allow that to be our guidance system, but also be here and enjoy this experience. And doing that is really connecting with our physical bodies. And it's something that I've had to work on many, many, many years. As I said, okay, I'm a perfect example. After my NDE, I was depressed because I wasn't in my physical body. I had this huge awakening, right? And then I came out and I was depressed. I was like, what? Why am I here? I don't want to be here. And I had to work very hard to get into my physical body to understand why I'm here and to be happy to be here. What's so beautiful is because I work with clients, and when I do readings for them, I can tap into that love. I go into the spirit realm because I've been in the spirit realm with my NDE, and I've always had access from a young childhood. I can easily go up and connect with that love. Absolutely. Can I share one thing really quickly? I wanted to share a free meditation. I have a quantum meditation that I offer to help people move up in the vibrations. So if you're in a lower vibration, or maybe there's some trauma that is keeping you stuck, this meditation helps you work through those lower vibes and move you up into the higher ones. And within a few minutes, you can completely change your emotions and feel much better and not feel so heavy or depressed. I'm not a therapist. If you need mental help, there are amazing therapists out there, but this is just a quick, easy, subtle meditation to just help dissolve those heavy 3D emotions that are holding you back so that you can start to feel good again. Because I know what it's like to be stuck in such a heavy density and not be able to even see color in life. So I would like to offer that to your audience, any of the listeners here that maybe feel like something's been holding me back, or I'm feeling a little depressed, that this is a really powerful tool. It's a 10-minute, I think it's only a 10-minute meditation to really help you. You too. Bye-bye.